You've probably seen a lot of stories about the Activision Blizzard merger lately, but I don't think anybody has collected all of the damning statements that Microsoft has made against Sony and PlayStation in the most recent response to Sony's attempt to make themselves look vulnerable against this acquisition. Microsoft not only points out that Sony would be absolutely fine if the merger went through, but they say straight up that Sony is simply trying to hold on to power and that they don't want to compete in this new landscape. Let's talk about everything that Microsoft said. There's about 21 interesting statements in this document that really paint an interesting picture about where Microsoft's coming from, what Sony has done in the past and is currently doing, and some interesting thoughts from Microsoft about where they are going in the future. Let's dive in right now. Buckle up because this is going to be a long one. So hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you know when my content goes live. So this is some of the most interesting documentation I have ever seen behind closed doors because it is a peek at what happens when lawyers get an argument and then they just absolutely destroy it, in my opinion. They have gone through and hit point by point a lot of the things that the gaming community has been saying about exclusives in recent days. And they really make some excellent points about where the industry currently stands today. Let's talk right away about what they have to say about Call of Duty. So first of all, they point out that Call of Duty still has plenty of competition based on replies from other parties in the same document. They even go as far as to point out that Sony is the only company that had anything different to say. For example, Sony stated that all games compete for engagement of players. Ubisoft responded that there is no such video game title that does not have close competition. Bandai, for its part, noted that Activision's greatest success, Blizzard, is the Call of Duty game, which has as competitors Battlefield, Valorant, Destiny, owned by Sony, by the way, among others. Along the same lines, Riot and Google have listed a number of games that are competitors close to Activision Blizzard's flagship titles. So what Microsoft is doing is they're setting up these replies to say, you are incorrect, and your partners in the publishing space, like the people on the same level as you, are basically saying the same thing. They go on further in the document to talk about how Sony's sales for Call of Duty seem not to make up that big of a percentage of their overall sales. Now, a lot of this section is redacted, but the picture Microsoft seems to be trying to paint is that Sony, you're making this big deal about Call of Duty, which is going to be multi-platform, but it really doesn't even make up that much of your sales. Here's what they say. First, the applicants conservatively estimate based on third-party data that Call of Duty responds to at most for about restricted percent of consumer spending on PlayStation as pictured in table 2 below. And then obviously that's redacted also, but the claimants further estimate that Call of Duty represents only blank percentage of Sony digital sales worldwide, considering both game sales and in-game purchases. So that seems to mean microtransaction and game sales. So their conclusion is, in other words, Sony makes the radical claim that a single game franchise, which corresponds conservatively to only blank percentage of your consumer spending and blank percentage of your global digital sales, essential for its existence as a viable distributor of digital games. However, the low proportion of consumer income and expenditure pictured above is significantly below the level at which Call of Duty could be considered an input capable of impacting the PlayStation's downstream competitiveness. They continue on this, talking about how they do plan to continue making the game multi-platform. But what's really interesting here is I think we sort of get a peek at the numbers and sales figures for Call of Duty on the PlayStation platform. And Microsoft's like, this does not make as big a percent on sales as you are trying to make it out to be. So it'll be interesting to see if Sony responds and says anything else about that exclusivity, because if it only makes a small percentage, which actually I called out in my previous video, like Sony talks about their console sales and all these other sales figures, but Call of Duty is a percentage, sure, but the game's going to remain multi-platform, so it shouldn't impact it that greatly that they would no longer be able to compete in the space. It's just absolutely a ridiculous argument. They know it, and Microsoft knows it, and they called them out on it. So they continue on here talking about how, so Call of Duty is such an important game, but such a radical argument, which evidently does not hold up, makes it even more fragile when you consider that only 2 Activision Blizzard titles were among the 20 best-selling console games of 2021. I want to make a quick note here. This entire document has been translated by Google Translate, but most of these statements have been backed up by several different outlets, and you've probably seen stories about these. I will be reading strictly off of the exact legal documents with the Google Translate text, so you can sort of get an idea of what's being said. But as always, take that with a grain of salt. But if you want to Google these statements and see what a more official translation has said, you can, and they seem to back up what the Google Translate has managed to come up with. Anyway, so let's reset here. So basically they're saying such a radical argument, which evidently does not hold up, makes it even more fragile when you consider that only 2 Activision Blizzard titles were among the 20 best-selling console games of 2021, a list that spans a range of titles from other popular franchises owned by rival publishers, such as FIFA, Grand Theft Auto, Assassin's Creed, Resident Evil Village, Minecraft, which, by the way, is multi-platform, they say, Mario Kart, Super Mario, Animal Crossing, Pokemon, Super Smash Bros. Oh, and what was that other game? Spider-Man, which is a PlayStation exclusive. So Call of Duty is just a game in the midst of a wide range of best-selling games, they say, many of which are not even available on Xbox due to exclusivity strategies adopted by Microsoft's competitors. Now, low-key, they're setting something up here. They're saying, Sony, you have exclusives, and that doesn't seem to be a problem. When's Spider-Man coming to Xbox? Oh, it's not. Well, we understand that having exclusives is important to your business. So how come you're allowed to have them, but we're not? And they go on to say, Call of Duty will not be console exclusive. It's not even financially viable for us. Well, they might be hamming it up a little bit there. Of course, it would be financially viable. But here is the first time that they reaffirm that the game will remain multi-platform. Let me find exactly. Sony appears to be concerned. Let me find the exact spot. Here we go. So this is on page 22. In making the argument that Call of Duty has no rivals and is a title essential, Sony appears to be concerned about future access to the franchise, and Activision Blizzard Microsoft reaffirms restricted access. So I'm assuming that some titles at least will remain multi-platform. They go into it again on page 24. Sony appears, let me find this really quick here. So regardless of how unusual Sony's criticisms of the content exclusivity, as the entire PlayStation strategy was centered around exclusivity over the years, the reality is that Activision's strategy of retaining games, Blizzard not distributing them at rival console stores, would simply not be profitable for Microsoft. So basically what they're saying is, hey, look, we're not even going to make these console exclusive. We don't believe that would be profitable. We would lose too much money if we took Call of Duty off of PlayStation and put it on Xbox. So we plan to continue putting it onto the PlayStation platform. So that's 2 times in the statement. One was redacted because, I don't know, there's something in there that they're not allowed to disclose. I'm assuming that it is Call of Duty game titles. And then he also talks about how the statement about making it not profitable wouldn't hold up. And I told you this was Google Translate, but here's what Video Games Chronicle said about the same topic. Regardless of how unsurprising Sony's criticism of content exclusivity is, given that PlayStation's entire strategy has been centered on exclusivity over the years, the reality is that the strategy of retaining Activision Blizzard's games by not distributing them in rival console shops would simply not be profitable for Microsoft. So basically the exact same translation that Google came up with, or pretty dang close to it. Now, let's move on to another section because that is them sort of blowing up the Call of Duty narrative that Sony needs it. They say that it seems like it doesn't make up that big of a percentage of your sales. We're going to make it multi-platform. You have plenty of console exclusives, and that doesn't seem to be an issue. So which is it? Are we not allowed to have console exclusives, but you are? We've already made Minecraft multi-platform. They do such an interesting job of going through, making all these points in a legal way. And honestly, I think Microsoft knows that everybody is tuning into this right now, or at least everybody in the gaming space, and they're putting Sony on blast. They're saying, these are the business strategies that you have been utilizing, and what would be the problem if we decided to do that? You know what? We'll do you one better. We're not even going to do that. That's not the game we're playing anymore. This video ended up being much longer than I anticipated, so I decided to break it into several parts. Join me tomorrow when we take a look at Microsoft responding to the Game Pass allegations and basically calling out Sony on their hypocrisy when it comes to exclusives. We'll be going over that in detail and then come back again on Sunday where we talk about where Microsoft has its conclusions and talks about how really, at the end of the day, Sony is just scared that they're going to lose the market lead. And that's what this is all truly about. And it has nothing to do with their previous statements. So join me for that. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so that you don't miss those videos. The main video ended up being like 40 minutes long. I'll make that available to members right now. So if you want to become a member, you can have access to the full video where I go over everything right now. Otherwise, it'll be released over the next several days. Thank you to the members that support this. Hopefully that is a good perk for those of you who have been supporting the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you everybody for watching. It's a really, really interesting document and a really, really interesting peek behind the scenes. I'll catch you for the next one. Stay tuned. Bye for now, everybody.